All right, TJ, breaking down 133 pounds in the Big Ten the last 10 years. Had a ton of fun with 125, now to 133. What comes to mind first for you?
Well, what comes to my mind is we had an absolute number one at 125. And I think we do again at 133. And so I don't think there's any doubt that STIEBER, being a four-time national champion, twice at 133 from Ohio State, what he did for the Ohio State program, the whole bit, he's number one at 133 for me.
And you look at what he did, can't agree more. 119-3, 50 pins. He was great on his feet, but he was punishing on top. Most dominant wrestler, four-time Big Ten champ, as you mentioned, four-time NCAA champion. I don't think anybody is going to argue. Logan STIEBER, of course, went on in 2016 and won a world championship as well. He did it all, four-time high school state champion. Yes. Logan STIEBER's career, video game stats, no doubt about it. STIEBER number one, and don't pick bottom against Logan. No. Just punishing on top, put the bars in, run it, and sooner or later you'd hear the slap on the mat. He was a stud. STIEBER was a boss.
I agree.
Number two?
Hey, I had a real solid number two. And I think CORY Clark, man, you think about it, four-time All-American, three-time finalist, champion, really a leader on the Iowa team for 4 years. And what I loved about him was not only was he a stud, he was just a quiet assassin. I mean, he was humble, he was quiet, he went about his business, and just really a big CORY Clark fan, and then I don't think there's any doubt that he's right in there in that number two slot. How about you?
CORY Clark is one of those guys, Tim, the word that comes to mind for me is toughness. CORY Clark, if we do one of these on the toughest guys in the last 10 years in the Big Ten, CORY Clark might be number one on that list as well.
With the injuries.
Oh, the wrist injury, the shoulder injury. So tough, and with Clark as well, you look at what he did, four-time All-American, I think the 19th in program history to be four-time All-American at Iowa, so that's a pretty great company. But his toughness to me was just unbelievable. CORY Clark, number two. I don't think anybody's going to argue that one either.
I agree.
Who do you got third?
Well, this is interesting, Shane, because you said in the last 10 years, I'm sitting here going, oh, I thought we were talking about since 2010. So one gets to sneak in. I had a tie for third. Okay, I just get another Hawkeye, Tony Ramos. I mean, wow. I just love the way he was ready all the time. He went out to win. He won a lot. Two-time finalist, national champion, three-time All-American. And yet when I was thinking 2010, and I think of JAYSON NESS, Hodge Trophy winner, four-time All-American, two-time finalist and a champion. So I just couldn't delineate between the two. And so I had a tie in there with Ramos and NESS. But like I said, I kind of cheated there, bringing NESS in if it's the last 10 years, because I always thought it was from 2010 up. And so, hey, I just like showcasing the Big Ten studs in these light weights and what they've done. So one more guy in the lineup of the top 133 pounders, fine with me. What are your thoughts?
I'll give you NESS for sure. He was phenomenal. For me, T-Ram, Tony Ramos coming at number three, 34-0 at Carver Hawkeye. You think about the last 10 years at Carver, the biggest victories, Ramos might have the top three. He had that big one against Jordan Oliver. He pinned Jordan Conway from Penn State, pinned Jimmy Gulabon from Penn State. I'm not sure if I've heard that arena any louder than those three victories from Ramos. And Ramos, I talked about CORY Clark before. Ramos was one of those guys, and I asked him about this on a call once. Were you ever a little scared, Tony? Just a little bit? No. And I believe him. I mean, Tony Ramos, the legendary stare down, that was fantastic. The other thing about Ramos I love, I got a good story about him. Won his Big Ten title. And at those times, we didn't take him right off the mat with the interviews. So Ramos and I was in Madison, beat Tyler Graff. Him and Graff had one of the best, I think, Big Ten rivalries of the last 10 years. Ramos was, normally getting the better end of that one. But I remember Ramos coming back by me, and we had a couple of minutes, and he had this sigh of relief, and he goes, finally, I'm on that board as a Big Ten champion. I'll always remember that. A couple other things with Ramos. What is a Tony Ramos autograph worth? It's not worth anything because everybody's got one. He was so good with the fans. He was so good at being a beast on the mat, the stare down, that tough guy approach and tough guy style of wrestling, but off the mat, really nice guy. Doing a good job at North Carolina right now under Coleman Scott. And another one of my favorite pictures, TJ. You think about, I mentioned Ramos and Graff, Ramos and Stieber. That rivalry was probably a step higher, how fierce that was. I love this. They wrestle. Stieber's would have been his 4th title, Ramos's junior year. Again, fierce rivalry, met in the Big Tens a couple of years. They get off the podium from getting their awards, and some kid wanted a picture with Logan Stieber. And Ramos was right there, and the kid's like, would you mind stepping in here too? It's one of my favorite pictures. It's Ramos and Stieber right off the award stand. And I just love, sports about the relationships, your rivals, you respect them, they drive you to do better. Tony Ramos, if you can't tell, he's number 3, and I probably want to get him higher. I love me some Tony Ramos.
Well, that's what I love about our sport, Shane. You're talking about life's about relationships, and so you're telling these stories, and we could tell these stories all day about them. But back to Tony Ramos. So my mother-in-law is moving out of her condo in Tiffin, outside of Iowa City. And who shows up to help for a half a day of moving, but Tony Ramos came out and helped me move my mother-in-law. And these stories we could tell about a lot of wrestlers. Every coach has a story like that, but I like being able to bring it up as we talk about their success on the mat, and then we transfer and we go, hey, they're even better off.
Absolutely. Ramos number 3, can't argue that. Who do you have following?
Well, of course, I had Ramos and NESS right in there.
Okay.
So I've got SURIANO from RUTGERS in there. He's a 2-time finalist. He's an NCAA champion, but he's not done yet. And so I couldn't take him any higher, but oh my. I mean, we've got the Ramos stare down, but I'm not sure we ever see a smile out of SURIANO, because he's all business. And what he and Anthony Ashnault did in the same year for RUTGERS was big. I'm a big Scott Goodale fan. I love the fact that RUTGERS is continuing to grow, and wins like Suriano's was huge for the program. So that's who I have in number 5.
Yeah, can't argue that. When I had Suriano at number 4, of course, NCAA finalist loses to Spencer Lee in a really good match. I think that was 5-1, 5-2, maybe. Good match. Comes back, bumps up to 133, wins a Big Ten title, becomes Rutgers' first national champion in program history. Ashnault follows it. Nick Suriano, he's one of those guys who want to go into a back alley. You want Nick Suriano on your side because, again, and I think that's a common theme, these guys are mentally tough. Yeah, they believe in themselves every time they toe the line. They expect to win, and it's going to be a dogfight. And when I think about Suriano, the match that I remember the most with him was him and Austin DeSanto, Big Tens in Minneapolis. And it was chaos, blood. It was fantastic. Nobody's backing down an inch. Coaches are going at it. Those guys are going at it. So you always know when Suriano shows up, there's going to be a fight.
Well, it's a war on the mat, and they better be warriors. And all these guys are warriors.
I got 2 more guys I want to bring up because I know we normally go with 4 or 5 guys. I got 6 for this weight class. 2 more guys that got to be in at least this conversation amongst the greats. STEVAN MICIC, Michigan. 3-time All-American, 4-2-3, I believe. Had some injuries that last year when he took 3rd. Big Ten champion in 2018. 5th at the 2019 World Championships at 57 kilos. Qualified Serbia. I believe he's Serbia's first ever freestyle Olympic wrestler. Right. STEVAN MICIC, that European slickness. STEVAN MICIC has got to be in the mix. He's, might not be done yet either. But I go with him and another guy, Tyler Graff from Wisconsin, 4-time All-American. Didn't win a title. He fell to Ramos, also fell to him in the Big Tens. But not a lot of 4-time All-Americans floating around. And Tyler Graff was great. Made a world team. I believe in 2019 he was on that world team. So I got to give some love to the Badger Graff as well.
Yeah, and helped Barry Davis have a good run there at Wisconsin. And I agree with you. Not at the top of the podium. They'd probably agree. Nope, not ahead of the ones that have won it. But as far as body of work, what they meant to their team, what they mean to their team, MICIC now, and Graff, hey, I'll allow it in.
You look at the Big Ten, the 2 weights we've done, 125, 133, just hammers everywhere. But it's been a lot of fun. Looking forward to doing 141.
Hey, it's exciting.